YouTube, what's up everybody, Dubwake here. Welcome to another video on the channel. We are going to be playing some blue-white Urza-Blade. I've been playing a decent amount of Affinity ever since the Neon Dynasty came out. However, you'll notice in this particular version, we don't really have any Neon Dynasty cards. Where'd they go? So, one thing that I have been noticing over the past couple of weeks as I've been playing these different Affinity lists is the amount of air that they have. We've uploaded a couple of videos with Urza and Moonsnare prototype, and these shells that are just super kind of really not all in per se, but they're really focused around getting more mana in play. And they're, get 4 Urzas, 8 Springleaf Drums, 8 Zeros. The problem with that is when you jam your deck with 8 Springleaf Drums and 8 0-mana largely irrelevant creatures, you tend to have a lot of non-functional draws. So this particular list is coming in from the top 8 of one of the challenges this weekend, and it's got a lot of the similar core. We have a lot of the blue/white based artifact stuff, Thought Monitor, couple Urzas, Esper Sentinel, Urza Saga. That's the core of the deck. But we're choosing to play some 2-drops instead of going kind of all in on just shoving on a bunch of mana. So we're going with Ingenious Smith and Stoneforge Mystic to both get a little bit of card advantage. So you'll notice there's no Thoughtcast here. Ingenious Smith is kind of the white Thoughtcast. Think of it as like that. You get a body, you get a card. It's 2 cards, right? It's the same thing. But it also gives you a way to kind of pressure opponents and or planeswalkers. And Stoneforge Mystic is another example of that. It's a 2-for-1. It's regardless of if they kill the body, you get something out of it. Even if you get a Cauldron, you can't cast it for a while. You have Urza, so you can maybe cast it at some point. But it's just the point of it allows you to have more functional draws because your cards are more individually powerful, and you can clock your opponent a little bit faster. So I like this approach. And something that I definitely have been considering trying. This is more of like a 2-color deck than mono blue splash some of the white cards that you've seen. Think of it like that. We have the 4 portable holes. Again, this is a really good removal spell. There's a lot of DRCs, a lot of monkeys, a lot of saga tokens. Really, really good in the format. And you need a higher density of 1-mana artifacts when you're choosing to play with 4 main deck Metallic Rebuke, because in order to have this on turn 2, you need to have an artifact on turn 1. Whether it be a Bauble, a Hole, a Sentinel, something. You just need something to play on turn 1 so you can achieve Metalcraft on turn, not Metalcraft, but Improvise on turn 2. And that's another powerful play. It essentially gives you have your own counterspell. It's like, counterspell at home, I guess, but that is kind of the theory behind that. Only 2 Nettlecyst here to go with the Cauldron and the Shadow Spear for a Stoneforge package. Obviously, with other Affinity versions, we've been playing 4 Nettlecyst before. I feel like with Stoneforge, you obviously don't need all 4 copies, but I kind of don't mind playing a 3rd because of just how naturally good it is to draw. The card itself is just super powerful and really works with, obviously, the rest of your strategy. Esper Sentinel, one of the best 1-drops in the format, behind DRC and Ragavan, obviously, but I think it's probably 3rd behind those. Let me know in the comments if there's what do you think is after Ragavan and Darcy, obviously. What do you think the next best 1-drop is? And yeah, we got our Saga package here, Needle Relic, Shadow Spear, 2 Springleaf Drums. Again, we're not going all in on the Springleaf Drums because there's no Memnites, no Ornithopters, as you can see, but we still want a couple of copies to just get a nice little boost of mana, because when Saga dies and you have Urza in your hand, you might want access to more mana to be able to cast that Urza. Makes sense. Mana base here, this is kind of where it gets a little dicey. So, Razortide Bridge is a card that I have shunned in the past. I absolutely despise Enter the Battlefield tap lands. The thing is, when you're playing with 10 blue cards, 8 white 1-drops, 8 white 2-drops, something's got to give. Now, this person who did well in the challenge played 4 copies. They made the top, I think it's top 4. And not a big fan of Razortide Bridge, so we'll see how it plays out. I'm probably going to tell you at the end of the video that I'm probably going to cut 3, if not all 4 copies of this card. But again, y'all know, I like to kind of play it as it is and see how it plays out whenever there's a challenge deck list that I'm playing. And then the mana base, the rest of the mana base, nothing too fancy. We got 1 Otawara, only a basic plains, no basic island. Could be a little awkward against Blood Moon, we'll see. And the cool thing about playing less drums and more lands is you get to justify playing a really solid 2-color deck with 4 citadels. The previous version was playing 18 lands, no citadels, at least the blue-white version that I had. So we've essentially upped the land count to 22 because we've cut 4 Moonsnare prototypes. So we're essentially just cutting 4 prototypes for 4 lands, and that allows us to play Citadel because we have enough colored sources as is. So that's a really good thing that might not be the most obvious at first glance, but Citadel is so sick because it allows you to have these draws with Thought Monitor and the like, and even Ingenious Smith. So it's really important to the deck, and now that we get to play 4 copies, that's awesome. Sideboard, we'll just go over pretty quickly here. Dispatch for your creature-based strategies, Teferi Time Raveler for Cascade and Control, Chalice of the Void for Cascade. You can actually bring in Chalice on 1 because you don't have a ton of 1-drops, and these you can all get off Saga anyways. Something to think about. Engineered Explosives for opposing sagas, Hammer Time, Shadow, all that stuff. Void Mirror for Cascade, Eldrazi Tron. I'm sure there's some stuff I'm missing. Void Mirror is just a really good card. Manrika Gusari for the Stoneforge Mirrors, when you can Stoneforge for it and kind of blow them out. Damping Sphere for Tron, and some various other combo decks. And then we round out the sideboard with some more Saga targets here. Soul Guide for additional graveyard hit against Dredge, and then Aether Spellbomb for Murktide Regent mostly, but just any hard-to-deal-with creature. So that is the deck list. I am super excited to get into some games here with some blue-white Urza-Blade. We'll be back here in just a second for round number 1. Alright guys, we're back here for round number 1. As you can see, it looks a little bit different today because we're going to be trying something a little bit different. We're going to be doing some replays. I'm just going to hit the play button, and I'm not going to talk too much about, some of the more obvious plays, but, maybe we can stop and if there's a decision point that I want to highlight, and I already know what's going to happen, but I started recording this video, and I noticed the games were going really, really long, and there was a ton of dead air, and I think it's going to be a lot better for the content if we just go over the replays and, highlight the important stuff. So, we won the die roll, and we open up on pretty decent hands. Stoneforge Mystic, Relic, couple spells. Go ahead and lead on Relic and see what we're up against. So City of Brass pass most likely means some sort of combo deck. I assume Dredge. So I had the option there. It's actually a good stopping point. Had the option there to hold up Metallic Rebuke. So this is actually a really close play. You can either play Saga and pass, hold up Rebuke, which also in turn holds up Relic. You can play Drum and then also hold up Rebuke / Relic. So that is almost certainly better if you're going to just hold up the Rebuke. I chose to play Stoneforge. I don't know if this is right. Let me know in the comments what you think of this play. What would you do in this spot? I figured that if they had, a 2-mana draw spell with some discard, some dredgers, I didn't think it could get that bad for me. And that was kind of my justification. I wanted to establish a clock as quickly as possible, especially against a deck like Dredge. But, in reality, when you have your opening hand Relic and it's like, this is by far and away the best card in the matchup, I think you're supposed to just hold up the Relic there, so I think the correct play was probably just Drum and pass. And you're going to see in a second that it did not necessarily turn out the best for me. So they flipped an Oxa Dredger and a Ghoul, then they flipped a Chill, and then they had the draw spell. And I think they had some more Dredgers here, and we'll go ahead and see what they hit. So they hit 2 Chills and an Archamiibo, which doesn't seem that bad, but they also have 2 Amalgams, a Silver Smoke Ghoul, an Ox of Agonis, and a Conflagrate. So, yeah. Now, obviously, I can get rid of the Ox and the Conflagrate, but now I'm in a spot where it's kind of awkward because I can't really afford to attack. Like, if I activate the Stoneforge Mystic and push with Cauldron, then I'm just dead on the backswing. So I have to, Violin the Stoneforge, block here, take 7, go to 1, and I just put myself in a really bad spot where I think if I just held up the Relic, I don't know if I could have lost this game, I mean, obviously, I wasn't pressuring them, but as long as I have the Relic, you don't need to, pressure them that quickly, because the Relic is just pressure in and of itself. So yeah, I think I definitely messed that game up. We go ahead and bobble them, see they have another Discovery on top. I look through my deck, do a little bit of math. I can equip the Shadow Spear. Like, there's a couple lines here. I can equip Shadow Spear, attack for 6, go up to 7, but then I'm exactly dead on the backswing. If I equip Shadow Spear and pass with, just holding it on defense, I'm just dead to the Narcomoeba. I only have 4 artifacts. If I play Thought Monitor, I can go Land Monitor, but then I don't have enough to equip the Shadow Spear, so then I have 2 blockers with no Shadow Spear, then I'm dead on board. So either way, I end up being dead on board. So that is game number 1. Alright, so for game number 2, we went ahead and cut the 4 copies of Portable Hull, and I believe that is it. And I boarded in the 3 dispatches and the additional piece of Graveyard Hate. I figured that Portable Hull was not the best. Typically, these dredge decks are on Prismatic Ending as their anti-dredge hate of choice. So I figured Portable Hull wasn't going to have that many targets outside of something like a Narcomoeba, which is pretty low impact anyways. So I figured that cutting the Portable Hulls was pretty good here. Alright, let's get rid of the sideboard. Open on, not the best hand in the world, but again, opening hand Relic with Saga for a backup piece of Graveyard Hate. So it essentially has 2 pieces of Graveyard Hate, even though they're good at answering the first one. I figured with the backup copy, I thought this hand was fine. It's maybe defensible to go ahead and ship this, but it's really hard to mulligan an opening hand that has Relic against Dredge. Just given how, powerful it's, far and away your best card in the matchup. And again, we have the Saga, so we had essentially had a backup piece of Graveyard Hate. So go ahead and ship the turn, the Exile a Gaze. So now we learned our lesson from the last game. We're not gonna go shields down on this Relic. So they play Cathartic Reunion, discard a bunch of Dredgers, and here is their graveyard. So it is 1, 2, looks like 2 Dredgers. 3, actually, there's a third, there's a Thug. So 3 Dredgers, an Ox, a Grudge, 2 Chills, and a Narcomoeba. Now, had the Ox not been here, I might have just let them have 6 damage and a Narcomoeba, but the problem is they also have Grudge, so they're going to force the issue on the Relic next turn anyways. And I kind of want it to be mana efficient, so I could just make a token next turn. And if they put me in a position, well, I guess, like, hypothetically, I could make a token and then pop the Relic with the drum, but I figured I wanted to use my mana here because I knew with the Grudge I was going to be forced to pop the Relic anyways. Maybe that's it's close. I think I made the decision that I felt like I was going to end up popping it regardless, so figured might as well do it there to use some mana, get a little bit more mana efficiency. Pretty straightforward stuff here, just going to make a Saga token, nothing going on too much here. So they have Discovery. We can't really do anything about it. Let's see, we know they have a bunch of Dredgers in hand, so they flip 2 Stinkweed Imps. They had a Chill, a Narcomoeba, and 1 Prized Amalgam, along with an Ox and a Conflagrate. But we don't care about those cards too much because we're just going to get our Soul Guide Lantern next turn. So from here, the game is pretty trivial. Make a token, untap, float mana, get the Soul Guide Lantern, make Urza, blow up their graveyard, and it's pretty easy from there. They have almost no resources left, and we have a giant board. So just a couple more turns. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough mana to play the... yeah, they just concede anyways. I couldn't play the Thought Monitor because I would have had to tap the Soul Guide Lantern to play it, and this is tap sack, so you couldn't actually be able to use the Lantern. So that was game number 2. Again, we learned our lesson from not using that Relic in game 1, so let's go to game 3 here in just a second. Alright, third time's the charm. Game 3. Let's see what our opening hand is. Alright, so this hand... I mean, it's one of those hands that, like, you look at it, it's got lands and spells. We have a Sentinel, a Bauble with a redraw, a Portable Hull, which can, if we find a piece of Graveyard Hate, can maybe be pretty good at getting back our piece of Graveyard Hate. So you could, theoretically justify keeping this hand, but I just, like, I don't know. I feel like whenever I play against Dredge, I feel kind of pressured into mulliganing to hate. Even though we don't have a ton of hate, we essentially have 6 copies because we have 4 Sagas. So, any hand that has a Saga, a Relic, or a Lantern is almost always going to be better than this. So I went ahead and chose to mulligan, but I think it is pretty close. Looks like opponent also mulliganed. And yeah, again, we open on Lantern plus Saga, which is 2 pieces of Graveyard Hate. So pretty easy keep. I know it looks bad because we don't have any colored mana, but you can't mulligan the hand that has Lantern and Saga. I think I put back the second Monitor, but we'll let this play out. Yeah, second Monitor. So we got a Mana Confluence and a pass. Drawing some colored spells, not the best. I chose not to sack because if I draw my own Portable Hull, I can eventually get back the Lantern. We got a Saga and a pass. Hopefully we find some colored mana. Thankfully, our opponent's on the Stinkweed and Beatdown plan, so we got plenty of time here. Plenty of time. Alright, 19 turn clock. Thankfully, they didn't play a second amp, so we drew a drum, pretty good. Obviously going to get our relic to make sure we can get our piece of graveyard hand online before they start doing stuff, and then we play a drum. Again, not really a ton else to do. Our hand, we don't have any colored sources, so we can't really do anything else here. They have the second portable hole. I had the option to just let them portable hole the relic. I chose to pop it because I figured if I found a portable hole, I already have a live target underneath one of them, so I didn't need... There's no reason to have both pieces under the holes. Like, if I draw a hole, I'm going to be able to get a Soul Guide Lantern back anyways, and I really needed to cycle to find colored mana, so that's why I chose to sack it there. And they actually found a Cathartic, which could end up being bad for us. Their Cathartic, thankfully, was not too bad. They only got a Silver Smoke Ghoul and a Narcomoeba, so... they actually bricked on Dredgers, because they... Yeah, they returned an Imp, a Dark Blast, and then I think they bricked on the third draw step. Yeah, return Imp, return Dark Blast, so... Not too... Yeah, their battlefield is not really threatening, and hey, we found colored mana. Although, it is a Razortide Bridge, so take that as you will. So they have Otherworldly Gaze. They do find Ancient Grudge, which could be a bit of a problem down the road if we eventually find threats. So I decided to play Smith here. I figured I can definitely go, like, Smith. You could lead on Stoneforge, but, like, if I go Stoneforge, I don't quite have enough to play Rebuke, because I only have Coast plus Mystic plus Drum. I figured maybe I actually punted by sacking the Bauble, and maybe I was supposed to keep the Bauble there to hold it up for Rebuke. They ended up killing the Smith, too. Found the Nettle Cyst and some bricks, nothing too much there. I chose to play the Sentinel with the intention of casting Dispatch this turn. So we'll pay our mana, we'll go ahead and kill the Stinkweed Imp, because, you know, that is something we eventually want to kill. That's kind of why we boarded in the Dispatches, so... But yeah, now they basically have no pressure, and now we kind of just get to go to town. I chose to play the Nettle Cyst here to be more mana efficient, and it puts more pressure into play, because then I can just Stoneforge for Shadow Spear, and then just Shadow Spear up the Germ Token next turn to, like, make sure I can gain enough life so they can't kill me. They hit a Creeping Chill, but not too much else here, and... Do note they have the Grudge, so, you know, obviously I could have, you know, I knew they had the Grudge, so I had the option to, you know, maybe slow play the Mystic there, and then next turn do, like, Nettle Cyst stuff, but, I mean, even if they main phase the Grudge, it's not that bad, because I can just Stoneforge for another Nettle Cyst if I wanted to, so that's kind of why I just ran out the Nettle Cyst there. I didn't really mind if they had Ancient Grudge, so I figured I would just let them go for it. So we Stoneforge for the Shadow Spear, and we can actually do it all. We can Shadow Spear, Equip, and Rebuke. They go for the Claim. They actually had Claim, so, you know, they're going to get to grudge our Nettle Cyst, but again, we got a little paid off that they decided to wait until our turn, get a nice little 7-point attack in here. Now, there is, obviously, we could lose this race, hypothetically. Oh, yeah, never mind. They ended up waiting again on the Grudge, and we drew the Metallic Rebuke, so that was kind of tough. Yeah, so, I don't know. Opponent definitely could have played that game a little bit differently. I don't know if they would have necessarily won 100% if they had main faced the Grudge, because we're at 10, we play the Monitor, we can... play the second Nettle Cyst. We could even choose to not play Monitor and just go like second Nettle Cyst plus Equip Shadow Spear and have a good blocker. Depends on what their leftovers were, but yeah, they definitely got a little bit greedy and waited on the Grudge, and we are 1-0, so we'll be back here in just a little bit for round number 2. Alright guys, round number 2. Let's see what we are up against. So, opening hand, pretty good. Sentinel, Smith, Monitor. Again, not the most exciting hand, but it's got a 1 and a 2 drop, and hopefully can get to Thought Monitor here. So, opponent mulls to 5 cards, leads on Tarn, and pass the turn. So, go ahead and lead on Sentinel. Pretty straightforward stuff here, not a ton to talk about. We'll go ahead and go Drum into Smith this turn. And see, I think I maybe played Stoneforge Mystic here. I went with a high upside play. I figured I might as well just, like, it's one of those situations where I just kind of want to make them have it, and then I can have Smith as a follow-up play. Like, it's not the best if they kill the Stoneforge, which they ended up doing, but then if they kill the Stoneforge, they likely will give me a card, unless it was exactly Bolt. And then they had Outburst, and I conceded. That might have been a bit of a premature concession. I don't see what I probably can't see what I was drawing. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess, like, I'm at 18, they have this, I draw, I go maybe tap land, or like Smith, tap land, and maybe that was a bit of a premature concession, but I don't know, it's probably fine, we're probably not winning that game. I guess I can just drop Portable Hole. Alright, anyways, game 2. Alright, so for game 2, it's going to look a little weird. I have no spot removal on my deck. I boarded out all 4 Portable Holes, along with the Needle for 2 Teferi, 2 Void Mirror, and a Chalice. I don't like spot removal against Rhinos because their deck is pretty good at playing kind of like this grindy value style game, and 1-for-1ing when they cast a Cascade spell is just kind of not where you want to be, so I'm not a big fan of it. Hit the play button, but it's not working. Alright, Chalice, Sentinel, Stoneforge, pretty easy keep here. We just get to go Sentinel into Stoneforge plus Chalice and see what our opponent's up to. They got a Blood Moon on top, which could be a little scary, but, you know, hopefully we can maybe find a basic or just maybe not care about it. We'll go ahead and go Stoneforge into Chalice. I'm just going to go for high upside, get the Cauldron. I could go for Nettlecyst, but I can't even play Nettlecyst next turn, so at that point, if the Razor... Okay, they had the Force of Vigor, which is a little annoying. I was going to say, maybe if the bridge was an untapped land, I could get the Nettlecyst there, but we're just going to slam the Cauldron. If they have a bounce spell, they have a bounce spell. They definitely don't have red mana or, you know, removal spell for the Mystic, so... But we're just going to get the clock a-rolling here. They have this suspended, which is on 2, so... We'll go to combat. I think they're going to ice me, which is totally fine. We'll go ahead and bash. Now, I could play Mystic, or I could play Smith plus Sentinel. I actually don't remember what I did here. I think I ended up playing the Mystic and the Sentinel because I wanted to get the Nettlecyst into play. So I believe I went Sentinel into Stoneforge, yeah, which I like. I actually got the Shadow Spear. Why did I get the Shadow Spear? I don't know. I probably should have got Nettlecyst there. I feel like maybe Shadow Spear was kind of medium. I mean, I can go Shadow Spear plus equip the Germ Token, but they already have no good blocks in the Germ Token anyways. I think Nettlecyst was a little bit better. Maybe I was worried about Force of Vigor, but, I mean, in this case, they can still just force the Shadow Spear to, like, kind of buy themselves a turn or so, but, I mean, if they can't answer the Germ Token, these Rhinos are not going to get past a 6/6 indestructible lifelink, a million abilities. Now they just get to pop off Urza into some Thought Monitors. This game is pretty much over. I don't really think there's any way for Rhinos to get out of a board like this. Attack for 6, they have the chump block. They go to 2, we're at 30. We have a massive board presence, and 3, 2, 1, I believe they concede. They do. Alright, so that was game number 2, so let's see what happens in game 3. Alright, game 3, it's time. Let's go. What's our opening hand like? Let's see. Teferi Cauldron lands. Can't keep that. This one, however, Void Mirror, Chalice, and lands. That's a lot better than Teferi Cauldron plus lands, so we'll definitely go ahead and keep this hand. Drew a Sentinel too, which is actually pretty good. I'm going to choose to not play Chalice. In general, you don't have to play it on turn 1. You can wait a turn. There's no reason to, like, just run it out there. Unless you were worried about, like, some sort of, like, 2-mana counter spell, maybe give them an extra draw step to force, but unfortunate, now we can't Chalice plus Mirror, because this might leave us susceptible to Rhinos, but we actually drew Rebuke, so if they end of turn forced, we could have rebuked using Strand, Bauble, Chalice, so that wouldn't have been too bad. We get a card out of the Sentinel, and but yeah, we end up fetching. Alright, Bauble myself, I see that there was a land on top, wanted to shuffle it. So we'll go ahead and smash with the Sentinel. And now we're just going to go Mirror plus Hold Up Rebuke. I'm basically just going to go... I'm never going to go Shields down at this point. I'm just going to hold up all my stuff. They end up firing off Prismari Command, which we just instantly rebuke. They chose to not kill the Sentinel, which I thought was kind of weird, but either way I'm going to rebuke it. And now we just say hello and good luck. They actually have a card that I was not expecting, Karn, which my hand is actually kind of weak to, but we drew Urza because we're very lucky and, you know, very, very good at this game, so we just kind of go nuts with Urza. I chose to play the Nettlecyst rather than attacking Karn this turn. I figured there wasn't too much they could get. Like, they could have Bridge, but, you know, I mean, if they Bridge, the Karn goes to 4, then I can attack it for at least 2, so it's not that bad. And the Monitor can get under the Bridge, maybe, if they can't dump their hand. They do get the Bridge, which, you know, makes sense, but we can kind of pressure the Karn a little bit. We go Smith, find a Sentinel, just more stuff that can attack under the Bridge. Go Go ahead and play the Sentinel and do some stuff. And hey, look, it out to bridge. I don't think I had lethal this turn. Oh no, I did, right? Because I could have floated mana with the Saga. I actually I got so excited that I drew the Otawara, and I was like, oh, I'm going to kill them next turn, that I just completely forgot that I was like, oh yeah, I just have the Urza, I could just kill them this turn. Granted, you know, I'm kind of just playing with my food at this point. I don't think they can really get through 2 Void Mirrors in this board, so yeah. I definitely missed lethal with the Otawara last turn, but I don't really think there was any way I could have got punished, so they go petty theft on something, doesn't matter, and they realize they're dead, so we can just bounce the bridge. But yeah, gave them a draw step again. Don't really think it mattered because I just kind of had the game locked up there. But that was round number 2 against Rhinos. We'll be back here in just a second for round number 3. Round 3, let's go. What are we up against? We are on the play again. It's pretty good. Definitely choose to play first. Take a look at our opening hand. Going slow with this one. Opening hand. Again, I really, really don't like these Razor-Tide bridges. They've been really awkward in some spots. I think I went ahead and kept this anyways, because we have, you know, turn 2 Saga plus Mystic. We can get the Cauldra, pressure them that way. So, I mean, the hand's not great, but I think it's one of those things where you just kind of have to keep it and hope it works out. But unfortunately, we're playing against Belcher, so let's really hope that we can... had I know I was playing against Belcher, I obviously would have played Saga on turn 1, but we didn't know what we were playing against. So we'll slam our Saga. Hopefully we get a turn 4 where we can just jam a Needle and hope they can't have they don't have an answer to it, which they sometimes don't. You know, they don't always have answers main deck, and as a matter of fact, I don't think most do. So this is Belcher Pass, which we can definitely beat. I got so excited that I forgot to float mana with Saga, but we end up playing Needle and playing some stuff, and attack for 5, attack for 6 actually, and our opponent conceded. So that was game number 1. Easy. And for game number 2, I boarded out 3 portable holes. Don't ask me why I kept one in. I decided to keep in a portable hole instead of like a relic or a lantern that cycles. Probably would have been better. But I boarded in 2 Damping Spheres and something. What was the other something I boarded in? Oh, I boarded in 2 Damping Spheres, 2 Teferis, and I cut the relic in 3 portable holes. Teferi's pretty good against their Reforge the Soul, Recross the Paths lines. So, you know, it is a little mana intensive, but can mess up their recross path, their recross piles, excuse me. So we have to mulligan very aggressively, can't keep that hand. This hand at least has a piece of interaction. I mean, this hand's actually pretty good. Now, I chose to lead on Seachrome Coast here. Looking back, I think I was probably supposed to lead on Saga and just go turn 1 Saga, turn 2 land Damping Sphere, hope that buys me time to get into the Needle. The problem with that line is it still loses to Force of Vigor, so I don't really know. It's pretty close either way. I think maybe I was supposed to lead on Saga, but I'm not 100% sure there. Decided to lead on Coast. And turns out we got Magist. Was not expecting that one. So we'll play a couple turns here, but yeah, we're not winning this game, so we'll move on to game number 3. Some real interesting games here. Game 3 on the play against Belcherino. We open on a pretty good hand. We get to go... Now, see, here's the thing. Again, I really don't know if I'm supposed to be playing Saga on turn 1 here. I think maybe I was supposed to. I chose to play Esper Sentinel because I figured if they had, like, you know, a... what's that card called? Make a Treasure. The name is escaping me. Strike It Rich. If they had Strike It Rich, I can draw a card off of that. I can still play Damping Sphere on turn 2 to hopefully buy me time to get to... Like, if I Damping Sphere on 2, it usually will buy me enough time to get to the Needle anyways. And either way, I'm going to lose the Force of Vigor on Sphere plus Saga, so it, like, kind of didn't matter. But I thought Sentinel was better if they had Strike It Rich, so I chose to go with Sentinel first. Again, not sure if that's right, but... They did have Spikefield Hazard, not quite Strike It Rich, so... I'll go ahead and play Saga. I felt compelled to play Damping Sphere here. Like, I wanted to play Stoneforge to put a clock on them, but I felt kind of compelled, and they ended up having the Force, so it didn't really matter what we did. Yeah, if I had gone Saga into Damping Sphere, we still would have got forced and lost, and yeah, not much to say about that match. That was the Belcher match, and we'll be back here in just a little bit for round number 4. Hopefully a little bit more interesting. All right, round number 4. What are we up against? We're on the play yet again. Very, very good at winning die rolls today. And opponent has a Kahira the Orphan Guard. We got Monitor, Monitor, Relic. Can't really afford to keep that hand. This hand's a little bit better. We get to go, we get to play a Razortide Bridge on turn 1, the only acceptable turn to play Razortide Bridge. We got a Cycler, we got a Pressure, we got Threat here. I think I put back the Portable Hole because I figured it wasn't going to be the best against Kahira. And that makes the most sense. So they went to 5. Now, obviously, could be some sort of, combo deck. Sometimes Belcher plays Kahira, but hopefully we can dodge Belcher. Turns out Valakut Awakening was the card that was revealed, so they're playing the Spike Lotus Field deck. Again, I tend to, always get Cauldron with Stoneforge Mystic. If I didn't already have the Nettle Cyst, maybe I would have gotten Nettle Cyst, but I figured there wasn't that much upside in having a second copy of Nettle Cyst. And turns out they didn't have the answer for it, so now we kind of just get to go to town. We get to go Bobble, put in our Cauldra, because if they had Solitude, they probably, well, I don't know. If they had Solitude, they might have saved it for the Cauldra token, but anyways, I think it's worth jamming the Cauldra there. They have a March on top, so maybe I actually should have Bobbled first before I activate the Stoneforge Mystic, because then maybe if I had done that, I would have just made a Saga token. So we draw Rebuke, which I thought about holding up. But actually, no, I can hold the Rebuke anyways if I get Springleaf Drum. I forgot about the Chalice. That was a really bad play. I forgot about the Chalice. I should have just not attacked and held up Rebuke, but didn't get punished, thankfully. And I decided to attack here because I thought I could hold up Rebuke, and then certainly soon realized after that I couldn't hold up Rebuke. So I didn't play this game too well. Thankfully, again, we didn't get punished. And now we just kind of get to go to town, hold up Rebuke this 100% of the time, whatever it is. Yeah, Rebuke it. And let's see what our opponent has. So they take 6, they go to 4. They end up having a Solitude for the token. It's not too bad. What are we doing here? So I decided to pass and hold up the 2 Stoneforge activations. I didn't quite have enough mana to... Oh, no, I did, because I could have used the Springleaf Drum. Maybe what I should have done was go Violin, Nettle Cyst, and then tap the Germ token with the drum and the other mana to equip this Stoneforge, attack, force a chump block. That might have been better. I decided to just Violin 2 Nettle Cyst. Not sure which is better there. It's pretty close. But the cool thing about this play is I get to hold up the double Nettle Cyst and hold up the Rebuke, so I think it kind of is sort of the best of both worlds here. I get to kind of just hold up everything. Not that Rebuke is countering a ton of stuff, but it could have countered Fury. I chose to just double Nettle Cyst instead, because I can just make them double chump block next turn, rather than actually counter the Fury. Because I don't care too much about the Stoneforges, I'd rather just get my threats into play, so we'll do double that, and then if I monitor into any artifact, we can make them double chump block, which I'll monitor first, and drew any artifact, which is pretty good. Lands come into play untapped. Oh no, I can't because of the Chalice, right? But we ended up drawing a Bobble, so now we can attack with our 2 7/7s to force double chump blocks. And then we do not have mana to play Stoneforge, but we can hold up the Rebuke, so if they draw anything like another Fury or a Solitude or a Teferi, we have that covered. Unless they pitch cast. Let that resolve, doesn't really matter, and they've conceded from the game. So that was game number 1. Back here for game number 2. Pretty simple sideboarding here. Decided to cut the portable holes. Not a ton of targets for it. They have Chalice, but if you're boarding out portable hole, you're cutting a lot of the ones anyways against Chalice, so that's fine. Boarded into Teferi is really good against Control, and boarded into Damping Sphere is really good against Lotus Field, so pretty straightforward sideboarding. Nothing too much to talk about here. We open on kind of a mana-heavy hand, but, threat into threat with... That's the cool thing about playing Otawara, is you can keep these kind of land-heavy hands, because Otawara is just a good spell to have, so... I'm going to go ahead and keep this. It's got a decent curve. We get to go Drum into Mystic with this. It's got threats. Drew a Cantrip, not that bad. I'm just going to cycle it. Just do it on their upkeep. And they have a Chalice on top, which we certainly do not care about. Our hand definitely does not care about Chalice in the slightest. And again, same spot. I already have the Nettle Cyst. Might as well get the Cauldra. If they answer the Stoneforge Mystic, sure, sucks, but we still have the Nettle Cyst as a payoff, so. And the cool thing about that is now we force them to pitch cast a Fury, which they maybe didn't want to do. And then we unfortunately do not have the Rebuke up here. We only have 2 mana, but they missed a land drop, so we get to untap with our Rebuke, and now it's pretty smooth sailing from here. Play Monitor, hold up Rebuke. Just kind of have the world as our oyster. I could play another Stoneforge, but rather just hold up Rebuke. Teferi on top, they're missing land drops, they're never getting to that. And the rest of this game is fairly uneventful, as I just throw 1-drops into Chalice because I can't read, apparently. But yeah, not too much to talk about here, just kind of just doing some gold fishing, and I'll see if our opponent draws a land. They don't. Pass turn. Doing some stuff and some things. I even played a Flooded Strain into the Blood Sun that just like doesn't have any text now. We'll put in the Cauldron. We'll go to combat. They probably have Solitude, most likely. Which they were holding for a while. They didn't want to cast, but now they're kind of forced to. I could have played Nettlecyst pre-combat, but then they just killed it in the Germ token, takes 7 anyway, so it still would have been lethal. Got a Nettlecyst still holding up the Rebuke with the Drum, and opponent is off it. So now we are 3-1, and let's see if we can complete that 4-1 here in just a little bit. Alrighty, everybody, round number 5. Let's see what we are up against. We finally lost the die roll. Feels like we've won every single one of them. On the draw against Known Companion, again, these damn Razor-Tide bridges, but we get to go turn 1 bridge, turn 2 Saga, Drum, Sentinel, potentially Portable Hole. It's a pretty good hand. You're not going to mulligan this hand, but I can complain about having entered the battlefield tap lands. So we got a Temple and a Relic, some E-Tron action, the ever-so unbeatable Mana Reshaper. Decide not to kill the Relic. I don't really care about it. I think I ended up saving the Portable Hole in case they had... Yeah, I decided to jam the Needle there and name Karn preemptively just in case they had it. I could, you know, in theory, if they... Obviously, if they play a Chalice, I can't play Portable Hole, but they could play an Urza Saga down the road and I could save the Portable Hole for a Construct. And I just didn't really care about the Relic, so... I have a Ballista to kill that, which is actually really unfortunate because... Our mana source was Springleaf Drum, and we have an Enter the Battlefield tap land. So if we don't find an untapped land, we can't actually make 2 tokens, which is kind of unfortunate. But I chose to not play the Smith there and just go Shadow Spear, hold up Rebuke, because I really wanted to counter Karn. It's kind of funny, even though I named Karn with Needle, I still kind of have to counter it because it just answers all of my artifacts, and I have 2 Razor-Tide bridges, so it's like. Yeah, but we go make a token, still holding up the Rebuke. I get a second Drum because I wanted to play Monitor, and again, still hold up Rebuke. I tanked for a little bit about playing this Otawara. I do have 4 mana in play, so I probably don't need to play it, but, like, if I draw another land and I have 6 mana, maybe I can go, like, Smith, Stoneforge, plus Equip or something. But I figured it was more relevant to save it, especially in the face of Urza Saga, so went ahead and held on to the Otawara for now. I think they got a power plant. They did. There's the power plant. Druid of the Saga, not too bad. We'll go Smith first. This turn's just going to be Equip plus Hold Up Rebuke. So we'll go ahead and attack. So they decide to make a token, and before damage, they decide to dismember my token. Not sure if I should be rebuking this. I figured if I don't rebuke this, they're just going to go float mana, get a map, use the mana plus the temple, get the 3rd Tron piece, and have 8 mana, so it's like they can play Karn through rebuke anyways. But then again, I could rebuke the bridge if they got a bridge, so it might have been better to save this dismember, but then it's like my only big threat, because it would have died in combat if I didn't counter this, so... I thought that it was worth just keeping up the pressure, because this is way more than lethal next turn anyways, so kind of a close play, but I decided to just keep the big guy in play, and they bricked. So that was game number 1. Alright, so game number 2, I decided to cut the 4 copies of Portable Hole. I'm not sure if I was supposed to cut all the Portable Holes. I realized after the fact that it does hit Expedition Map, so if it's in your opening hand on the draw and they have exactly turn 1 map, it is good. I feel like in almost every other situation, it's not that good. It does hit Chalice, but similar to the last match we just played against, you don't really care that much about Chalice if you're cutting 1-drops. So I feel like it's just better to make your deck a little bit better against Chalice in the sense if you just don't have the 1-drops, rather than board in an potential answer for it. Well, it actually can't answer Chalice because you can't play it, obviously. So it doesn't actually answer Chalice. The only target in their deck really is like Relic, who cares, and then Map. But it's so situational against Map. And then I boarded in the 2 Void Mirrors because they can't cast spells when you have a Void Mirror in play, or it makes it very difficult for them to. And the 2 Explosives because they showed me Urza Saga as well as the Aether Spellbomb. So that was the sideboarding, and let's move on to game 2. So opening hand, not too bad, you know, again, a little slow, but kind of funny. They had the map, so I kind of wish I had the, they did have the turn 1 map, so I kind of wish I had the, potentially the Portable Hole over the Explosives in my opening hand, but, you know, such is life. So, yeah, we'll just go ahead and play our second Sentinel in our Razortide Bridge, and I am not, you know, a little optimistic about turn 3 Tron with this game. They have Maze Mine Tome, which they decide to pay for, and draw a card and play Relic. Okay, not the worst. I just need to apply pressure here when they have Tron, so my hand's kind of forced here with the Nettle Cyst. And they follow up with 10 mana floating. All is dust, pay for 2 Sentinels. Okay, not too bad. We still have a Nettle Cyst in play, so we can just go, you know, Sentinel into Thought Monitor, rebuild rebuild kind of nicely here, and then we can equip the Nettle Cyst for a threat next turn. And then they have Oblivion Sower, not quite Karn, so maybe beatable. Copium. And I think they had, oh no, they had a Karn. Karn and pay. And I think this is where I conceded. Yeah. I mean, I could have played it out, but I have 3 mana sources that can't activate. So the best I can do is play a 2-drop. I can play Stoneforge Mystic, maybe attack Karn for 2, and then they just get to untap with Karn and 3/6. I can't even count that high. So yeah, that was, I feel like, a pretty safe concession. And then for game number 3, I decided to keep the Portable Holes in the sideboard. I think they're more defensible on the draw because that's where you really, really want it on turn 1. I mean, obviously, you would still... It's still pretty good to be able to kill their turn 1 map even on the play or the draw, but you can pressure them a little bit more when you're on the play, so I didn't think it was as necessary. Well, I went a little too fast there. Hold on. Let's go back. Start over. That's the one issue with the replay feature, is when I click the wrong button. Alright, so we're on the play. And opening hand, not very good. Not going to keep 2 Baubles, Explosives, bunch of lands, so that's an easy mulligan. Go ahead and ship that. This hand is not great. It's a lot of mana sources, but Saga is one of your best cards, so I thought it was worth keeping this hand. And just get to go Sentinel into, you know, Drum, make some tokens, yada yada. Again, not the best hand, but I think it's better than going to 6. I could save the Bauble here to potentially scry next turn. I just wanted to cycle it to try and find Metallic Rebuke as quick as possible, especially when they lead on Temple. So they go ahead and kill the Sentinel. Not too bad. I didn't play the Bauble here because I wanted to save it for the Smith. Obviously, I'm going to make a token here. But yeah, that's why I didn't play the Bauble that turn. And they have TKS, so probably going to take Smith. They took Bauble. I just realized that. Why do they take Bauble with that? That's kind of weird. Drew the Rebuke, which is obviously insane. I think I got Shadow Spear here. Yeah, because then I can just go attack, hold up Rebuke with these 4 permanents, and just pass. It makes it kind of awkward, because, like, they know about the Smith, and they know that I didn't play the Smith, but, like, can they really afford to play around it? Probably not, so, yeah. I actually punted. I let them get the trigger, and if they hit 3 untapped lands, they could have paid for the Rebuke. I just wasn't paying attention. I obviously should have countered it before the trigger happened. Trying to see if I can force a chump block here, so we'll play Smith pre-combat, take the Thought Monitor. I think it's more important to just get the Monitor than equip the Shadow Spear. Unfortunately, I didn't have an untapped land, or else I would have been able to force a chump block there. They have an Explosives on top, which is one of the cards that could potentially get them out of this, but I think our board is... Explosives plus Karn is a pretty good turn. So here's kind of a weird spot. I'm going to play the Needle. They're going to pop the Explosives. I'm going to name Karn. It's a question of where do I attack, because this is going to be a 3/3. So they can't... The good thing is, like, if I have the Needle in play, they can't minus the Karn. So obviously I get super punished if they go, like, Blast Zone, pop it, Karn minus, get Bridge. But I think against them just naturally drawing to Blast Zone, I think that's the only thing that punishes me for just going after them, because this puts them to 3, and I'm playing another Smith here, which means that I'm going to have a 3-3, a 3-3, and a 2-2, and if they present 1 blocker, it's still lethal. Even if they present 2 blockers, we still put them to 1 with the Thought Monitor, so I think it's worth just, like, naming Karn and just going after them, trying to get them dead, and just praying to God they don't naturally have the Blast Zone. It's going to be pretty hard for us to beat that anyways. And we get a Thought Monitor for next turn, so not too bad, if things do not go our way. So, and the Thought Outseer for the Thought Monitor, which is pretty annoying. That would have been a good draw, but we can't cast it because Razor-Type Bridge does not produce mana. I'm going to go for it. They have Warping Whale, so they get to eat the 3-3, chump the 4-4, and go to 1. They have map for Blast Zone, but they don't have enough mana, and that is a 4-1. So let's go ahead and just take a quick look at the deck list before we get out of here. So closing thoughts, I think this is way too many Razor-Type Bridges, as I've said before. I like the idea of not playing as many draw twos and kind of just, you know, not dirtling around as much and playing like actual good 2-mana threats. I was pretty impressed with the combination of both Ingenious Smith and Stoneforge, allowing you to get a little bit of value and also while clocking. You know, it's like Thoughtcast is good value, but it doesn't clock your opponent, and you can only have so many divinations in your deck before you just don't have a realistic clock. So I do like the Stoneforge Mystic Smith plan along with Cauldra and Nettle Cyst. I kind of want a third Nettle Cyst because I just like drawing this card a lot. So I would consider playing a third copy, maybe potentially over the main deck Relic. Maybe could cut the 4th Portable Hole. I know we boarded it out a lot. We just didn't play against a lot of good Portable Hole matchups. And I would certainly cut at least 2, if not 3, or maybe all 4 of these bridges, and I would just play maybe more Flooded Strands. Probably a basic island too. There's only 1 basic. When I was playing the blue-white deck, I think I had less Citadels, and I think I had like 2 Glimmer Voids, 3 Flooded Strands, 2 or 3 Hallowed Fountains, 1 of each basic, something like that. So that would be my preferred potential mana base there, and sideboard for the most part felt pretty good, so yeah, not too much to talk about there, but yeah, again, if you enjoyed, or if you enjoyed it, or if you didn't enjoy this type of, you know, replay style video, please let me know. Most of the time, I think we're going to be doing the when I do the Twitch I can't speak today. When I go and upload VODs of the Twitch stream, I'm going to just go in and edit those. Those aren't going to be replays. I'm just going to take the VOD from the Twitch stream. So, you know, when I do the kind of the off-stream content, I think maybe if you guys enjoy it, we'll do more replay stuff. It's a lot easier for me because, like, obviously I know what's going to happen. So I can kind of preemptively get to where I want to go, but it's just in terms of the content itself, there's just so much less dead air. I feel like whenever I'm recording videos and I notice that there's just tons of pauses and dead air, and it's really hard. It's a lot of editing, a lot of clips and stuff. So again, if you enjoyed the video, thumbs up. Please let me know in the comments, did you enjoy the replay style of video? And with that, that's all I got. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.